Welcome back. Yes, I am double stacking because why not? It's my channel, right? So, for those who are new, my name is Jay. This is Clandestine Carry Concepts. Yeah, I'm gonna start dropping the name now. It's a business that I'm gonna be starting in the near future. But you got to do the social media thing. So, decided to get some videos and the whole YouTube thing up, and we're gonna talk about the second part of building a community: how to fucking talk to people. So, there is no doubt that autism has just been hitting people hard since about like the mid 80s, 90s. Fucking our parents ate a little bit too much lead, back when they were growing up. So now we all got to fucking suffer for it, right? So it's really hard to communicate with people these days. And not only that, when you're talking online or you're, just interacting and people got these little devices that fucking looking down and like, yeah, I hear that you're talking to me, but like Facebook and blah blah blah, like it's really hard to communicate effectively with people these days, right? Well, I'm gonna help you out. So PC culture is a factor. All right, depending on where you live, like for me, I live in Illinois. There's some things I can't really go out and say, even if I think it, even if I feel it. I can't really say those things. And I'll leave that to interpretation. Um, when you live in some other areas that may be more or less liberal, we'll say, you're going to have to learn how to phrase things because we're probably in the minority in those liberal areas. Now, the converse is, if you can walk around saying some things that are going to catch some eyes in some other places, but you don't get it here, cool, awesome. It should be super easy for you to talk to people. You shouldn't feel that societal pressure to be like, oh shit, man, I gotta talk in a hushed voice over something as basic as, hey, I'm looking to build a community and have some friends learn some skills. You'd be amazed at how weird and like fetty that shit sounds. Like, but it is what it is. So, how do we talk to people? First things first. There is a baseline instinct that people have about who's trustworthy and who's not. That gets refined through actions. So, what do people normally do? They work, they have jobs. If you don't work, you're probably in school. You're always surrounded by people. And over time, you're going to learn, all right, that person I wouldn't mind getting a drink with. That person can go fuck themselves. That person, I'm just going to turn around every time they start talking to me. I don't care. You're going to develop that sense, right? Now, for older people who've been out of school for a while or have been in the same job for a long time, you become desensitized, the sense is dull, so to speak. And if you don't have a third place, if you guys don't know the concept of third place, it's basically back in the 50s and 60s, people used to go to work, they would go to their home, and then whether it was on the weekends or weeknights, they'd have some sort of third place that they would visit. So think Flintstones, bowling alley, elk clubs, fucking NRA meetups, shit like that. Those are third places. That's kind of been a downsized concept the last few decades, especially after the pandemic. Can't go anywhere. Fucking pandemic. Yeah, that's how I feel about it, even after working in the medical field. If you've seen my last video, and I've described a little bit about myself. So, if you don't already have a third place that you're keeping your senses alive, you have to develop that instinct. So, how do you do it? You gotta take the initiative, all right? Pull those fucking balls up, and you gotta talk to people. You gotta say, hey, how are you? Give the nod, start slow. Even though we all feel like the end is coming, this is not going to be most likely, it is not going to be a fuck you, launch nukes immediate type situation. We are, Ryan Macbeth, I believe his name is a good YouTuber. I highly recommend checking out his stuff. He's recently put out some videos saying that we've been in World War III for a little while now. I kind of agree with that. I've kind of felt that maybe this is like a prequel to World War III, but now after how he put it in context, I'm like, yeah, we probably are in World War III. This is a slow burn. And this is going to be a pretty slow burn up until China invades Taiwan, which they were shooting for somewhere to 2027. So you guys have some time to build something. Now, one of my favorite sayings that I kind of took from the military is with expediency. It's the polite way of saying fucking fast. Do it quickly. So if you're going to try and build a community, you should do it with expediency. But you still have to do some basic legwork. So you're not going to be able to walk up to everyone and be like, hey man, would you like to join a community of like-minded individuals who want to do XYZ? Sorry, I wish this was a fucking TV show and you could just do that. It's not. It starts by tipping your hat, nodding, saying, hey man, how are you? So do that. Your eye's going to be drawn. So, let's look at something that I didn't even plan for, right? I'm wearing this shirt. If you guys are on YouTube and you like gun stuff, you know who this person is. He's a fucking Don. Always look up his shit. Please give him support. Paul Harrell is amazing. His brother's doing a phenomenal job. Roy, keep it up, my man. You see me walking around with this, and you see me walking around with this, and you're thinking like, you know what? He's military, so he's probably got some mindset. He's familiar enough with guns. I'm gonna talk to him. I'm super chill. You walk up to me like, hey man, we have a group that meets every Wednesday at this time. You want to participate? And I'll be like, well, what do you guys do? What are you planning? What's the long-term goal? I already know what to look for. That's why I can ask these questions. Sometimes that's off-putting for these people. They don't know, like, oh shit, like maybe this guy's something. But at the same time, it could work in their favor because now I know what I'm talking about. Now I can go and network with all these other people who they've been afraid to talk to because I'm more overt about it, right? You're going to learn through my videos the concept and the power of being overt versus covert. And right now, since things aren't hot, we actually can be overt. So, you see someone walking around, and they got a shirt like this, they got a hat like this, so they're just doing something that you know is pro-gun, pro-preparedness, preparedness, English is hard. And you want to go and reach out and talk to them. Start with the small stuff, man. Don't go right up unless you're like 100% certain. Like, I remember when Grunt Proof and Pacific Northwest Guerrilla were talking. They were like, "Oh, did you just say that thing?" Like, "Oh, okay, all right. I got my ears open." It's the little things. It's the little things like saying "plandemic" instead of "pandemic." That perks the ears up. Like, oh, all right, maybe this guy, maybe I had him pegged the wrong way. You know what I mean? Those are the little hints you're going to want to drop. Now, that is more on the covert side of things, right? But it's also overt. If you feel comfortable, you're going to say shit like that. It's fucked up of a comparison it is. It's like when you're all the same color or gender and you say a racist or a sexist joke. You're only going to say that because everyone in the room is the same thing as you. That's overt, even if it is like covert in the sense of, there's not a lot of people. Instinct, man. You'll get there. Besides that, there's not going to be ever a 100% certainty, right? Someone may just be in a headspace currently because they're learning a skill. One thing I'm an advocate of is always be learning. Watch shit on YouTube, go and fucking develop a thing. Some stuff has some overlap, like one thing I'll always go back to me with medical is like, I used to be a medical professional. I was a hospital corpsman in the U.S. Navy. So a lot of my skill set comes from that background. You'll learn that a lot of people just want to get into medical for medical side, but they get thrown all these things like, okay, well, you need to learn how to treat a gunshot wound. And then your natural inclination is like, well, if they learn how to treat gunshot wounds and they're not gun people, they're going to have to learn about guns. And if they learn about guns, then they're going to turn into us and they're going to join the dark side. That's not always how it works, man. So you have to kind of judge the context. That's what we'll say. The context of why you think they're going to work. Is it because they've shown an interest? Is it because they have a skill? You got to find it out, man. And you're only going to be able to do that by the small stuff. Just saying hello, seeing how they're doing, asking how they're doing, working your way up until you have a rapport, as we used to say. After you develop that, after you get an idea, that instinct, man, that instinct's going to be the thing that tells you. And again, even if you've been desensitized because you've been in the workforce for a long time, or you've been out of school for a long time, you're not used to social interaction. Think about your friends, right? I'm 32 and I only have legitimately 2 friends now. All my other friends, I'll explain on another time, some point. But I don't have any more friends. And the 2 friends that I do have, I've known for 17 years, and one is a cousin of the other friend. So, like, I've really known them for a very long time. They started out as my neighbor. The one became a Marine, and then shortly after I joined the Navy. So obviously our bond was like fucking, if it wasn't homosexual the first time, it was definitely homosexual the second time. Yes, I know. I'm Navy. I can make these jokes. Anyway, but when we first met, it was just because we lived next to each other. He was a sports guy, I was a gamer guy and a musician, so like didn't really have a lot of skills or overlap. But when you're a kid, you can basically be friends with anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and say, take that kid mentality. We used to walk up and talk to anyone, regardless of color, religion, sex, any of that shit. We didn't give a fuck because we wanted to play. Have that juvenile heart. You want to play. I want to play community with my friends. But as we grew older, we started learning, all right, maybe that kid specifically I shouldn't talk to because he's got that ADHD or something. I don't know. I was stupid. I kept interacting with people I shouldn't have. But I also grew up in a bad area, so it didn't really fucking matter. The point is, though, develop that kid mindset again. It's like, if I want to play with that person, how fun would they be? Literally, it's that fucking simple. And you kind of just go from there. So, another thing, find a third place. I talked about it before. Eventually, you're going to have the community, the stuff that I was talking about in the first video, be your third place. But until then, you're going to have to find one anyway. So you may have to go and be more social. If you're not a drinker, obviously going to a bar is going to be difficult for you. So you're going to have to find something else to do. Go to a bowling alley. Do golf. If you don't put yourself in a social situation, you're not going to be in anything. You're going to be lonely, old, bitter, and you're not going to train. And as a lot of people on YouTube say, if you don't train, you're nothing. And we want to prevent that. We want you to train. Get out there. Go do something. So if you can't do a lot of things because your work schedule, try and reconnect with some old friends. That's something I don't think a lot of people do anymore. And I know that kind of sounds hypocritical because I just said I only have 2 friends. Well, my circumstances are a little bit different, and eventually I will go into them, and you guys will see how life works, and then you'll know. But in the meantime, I will still say, if there's a friend that you used to hang out with a bunch of times, for a long time, give them a call. You never know. Maybe they have kids and you don't, and it's hard to manage things, or vice versa, but it doesn't matter, man. If you don't stay social, that's why we have all these people who are just looking at their phones all the fucking time. It's awful when you're trying to be in the dating scene. And who knows, maybe I'll make a dating video on that shit. But you have to be open, and you have to have balls. You got to do it. I don't want to do it. No one wants to do it. I don't blame you for not wanting to do it. But if you want a community, and one of the themes I was hearing when I was listening to Grunt Proof's talks, his lives with these other YouTubers, is like every couple of fucking comments was just like, yeah, but I don't know where to find a community. I don't know how to build a community. Well, fuck you. You should, because you should have watched the first video. And I gave you ideas on how to build a community. But how do you find people? That's what this one's trying to cover. This is how you do it. You be social. You interact with people. And you do it slowly over time. You learn the context of why you want them. And you have that juvenile kid style where you're just like, I think you're going to be fun to hang out with. I want to fucking hang out with you. And it may be trial and error. But here's something that a lot of people don't consider, right? Like I was just talking about. If you walked up to a guy like me and you were talking about this community prepared stuff, I'm going to be down hardcore. Because I actually need a community. Part of working with my nonprofit has been maybe not just to be a nonprofit, maybe to also have something bigger on the horizon. Who knows? I can't say. Literally, I cannot say. So, but if I can find a community that already exists, I would like to see what they have, But you can't front load people. You really do have to take the baby steps. And the reason why is because there is a meme that goes around that everyone's like, oh, you're a fed. Oh, you're a fed. Oh, you're a fed. Well, I'm fed up with fucking hearing that. All right. If you are a Fed, big fucking deal. If anything, you want to recruit a Fed because you want them to have your mentality and then they fucking work for you. You know, insurgency style. In regards to my last fucking video about some of the clandestine shit that you guys might have to do. But okay, no one wants to go to jail. I don't want to show you something that's going to fucking get me hit up by the ATF with a G in front of it. So, okay, don't front load. Don't fucking tell them all the things that you're doing. Have part of these community monthly events that I was talking about in the first video that you would know about if you watched the first fucking video. I told you not all these times need to be about recruiting people. Or, fuck. Not all these things need to be about working with people. They can be about recruiting people. English is hard. And I don't edit these videos, so just fucking bear with me. Have a time where you're all just getting drinks and doing shit. And then this guy brings over the mechanic. We'll talk about the mechanic again. It's like, hey man, this guy works on my car all the time. He's a couple of counties away, or a couple of villages away. But I figure like, hey, he's cool. He works on my car. We kind of talk through context, and over that relationship time, we figured out that like he's kind of like-minded. Let's give him a shot. Cool. All right. We'll have him come to this point. We're going to drink. We're going to talk about some of the plans that we're doing. Jay's going to be teaching some medical in the future, and then we're going to be doing a 30-mile ruck march. So let's kind of ease him into it. Don't just be like, all right, man, so when you come here on Wednesday, you're going to want to bring your medical gear because Jay's going to be teaching. And then the following week, you're going to need a pack that has at least 50-pound capability. Like, no. Even as cool as I am, as overt as I am with shit, you tell me I gotta fucking suddenly start prepping for this giant ruck and I don't even know anyone besides you, I'm not doing it. There's risk. Because how do I know I'm not gonna go ruck into a fucking Texas Wilco situation? You don't, And it's because that Fed fear mentality. I don't know if your group is all fucking suspect. You don't know if I'm fucking suspect. So ease them into it. Dip your feet into the pool. Don't jump all the way fucking in and get frozen. But I understand that's sometimes difficult because, if our instinct isn't there, we're just like, hey man, like you look super pro gun and super like supportive of like prep stuff. And like, I just want to get you in. Like we want people, man, but we can't have desperation because that is going to lead us to unfortunately grabbing someone who may have ulterior motives and then exposes the group, exposes themselves, puts a negative light on you guys. You don't want that. So in regards to what I was saying about gatekeeping in my first video, I believe, your core group needs to kind of have some final say. Like think of it as the republic that our government really fucking should be. Representatives kind of talking for everyone and then voting together instead of this democracy. Yeah, that's how I fucking feel about it. The core group should be talking and being like, all right, so I think we've given this guy enough information and I think we should have him participate in one of our rucks and then really kind of tell him like, hey man, so like we're actually seriously preparing for if civilization ends and we need to keep our neighborhood sustained. Like, do you understand that? Do you get that your skill is extremely important to us and we're going to watch your back so you can help us with your stuff? That's heavy. That's something a 30-mile ruck would probably help reinforce because they're really learning how to power through a problem. And that's still something that, we're so much better about that stuff when we're experiencing it. If you tell someone, hey, you got to go ruck 30 miles, they're going to bitch and moan until they fucking do that 30 miles. If you just start walking and they're like, hey man, how many miles have we gone? Oh, we're going 10. Shit, dude. Like, I was so ingrained in my conversation, I didn't even know we walked a mile. Yeah, well, let's keep on walking. Let's just see where we go. Next thing you know, they're at 30 miles. And they're like, holy shit, I didn't think I could just walk 30 miles. I didn't either. But then you fucking did it. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes we gotta pull the wool over someone's eyes to slowly reveal what's going on. You don't want to get them all blinded by the light. So, just use discretion. Work your way up. When you feel comfortable with that person, that's when you let them know. And then when you let them know, just tell them, like, hey man, we're not doing illegal shit. If you have a natural inclination to do something illegal with a group like this, I'm going to let you know, man, like, that's not us. We're not going to do that. If you want, like, you go be you, that's cool. But we're here as a legitimate thing We're not trying to break laws. We're not trying to get arrested. Don't fuck with us. Please. Or don't fuck us over, I guess. You know. And then vice versa aspect. Like, hey guys, like I like that we rock and that we train everything, but like I gotta put my foot down, man. If you guys are trying to, some overthrow government shit, like I'm not down for that. Like I'm just here to fucking be cool. If shit does pop off, it's nice to know I got people who watch my back and that, you got this skill, I got that skill, and we go from there. Have that open dialogue. Don't be fucking afraid of it. Like the fear concept that has stopped people from making community is what the government wants. It's a psyop. It's been a psyop for a long time. And here's how I know, right? Part of the reason why I am on some watch lists is because when you transition out of the military, first off, almost all veterans are on a watch list, especially if you were active duty, or if you were combat. Sorry. When you get out, you have just been in an organization that has forced you to work together with a small unit that has become so fucking ingrained in your psyche that even if you really, really, really want to get out, camaraderie is always, universally, the thing we fucking miss the most. I know for a fact because I run a nonprofit and I talk to veterans of all eras. I still have World War II fucking veterans who are in their 90s who are telling me about this shit. So don't even fucking correct me on that end. I know it. So we get out, we miss camaraderie, and we try to find that in the civilian world. And unfortunately, that kind of gets us in trouble because we're so used to being trusting, right? And we get front loaded with, hey man, we train, we do all this stuff. And next thing you know, you're in some fucking shit that gets hit up by the fucking ATF with a G in front of it. Like, don't be that guy. Don't do that. Don't let the government win in that aspect, right? Because now all of us look bad. All of us look like we're just going to fucking fight to take over this goddamn country again as soon as something pops off. And whether I believe that to be true or not, and we should do that, wink, wink, that's not how life works. There's a process. There's things that need to happen, and it's a slow process, So don't try to fill that void if you're a veteran. Don't try to fill that void so quickly that you take on too much and you drown. Go slow. Find a group that you're chill with. Even if you're not a veteran, sometimes we just get so gung-ho about wanting to do these things, we jump in, and it's like the same problem. So discretion works on both parties. You, as the community, the people who've already established and have this core group who's going to vote on who's coming in and who's not, but not gatekeeping, keeping an open mind. Got to stress that. You give them bits and pieces over time, and then they realize, yeah, I really do like this group, and I really stand by what we're talking about. And on the other side, when you're not being pressed, when you're not being forced because you know so much, you're more likely to go with the flow. It's a little insidious, for a lack of a better term, because, one thing that happened in World War II with, fucking Germany and all that shit was like, it sounded like a good idea at the time. That's basically what the Budweiser and all the German people said. It sounded like a good idea at the time. Because they were fucking poor. They were fucking poor as shit, pissed off over World War I, and they wanted to fucking just try and be great again. And it's weird to hear that, because it sounds similar to something that our country has tried to do over the years, right? Not a Trump fan, but goddamn, I'm definitely not a Biden fan either. Fucking lesser two evil shit. Anyway, sorry, quick tangent to just let you all know where I stand on things. If it seemed like a good idea at the time, and that's justification used for such a massively evil fucking thing, then anyone can fall for it. So, as much as we want a community and we want to have all these awesome things, we really do got to be careful with it. So, that whole "you're a Fed" mentality may actually be a positive thing if you use it in the right light. Just common sense, common sense, courtesy. That's it. If you don't want to know all the information about something at once because it's going to lead to, your brain being overwhelmed and you're not going to want to do shit, then don't expect that to somebody else. And then a courtesy. Treat others how you want to be treated. Basic stuff. Things I went over in the first video. So let's recap. When you're first talking to people about building a community, you need to do the work, very slow, get to know that person. You need to understand the context of why you want to bring them in and why they may be a good fit in. to make sure that they really are offering what they had to offer. You don't want to front load them. You know, when they do come into the community, when they do start doing some of these things, give them information as needed. Don't lie to them. If they ask for more stuff, you tell them the stuff that you're going to do. But don't have them think that, hey, I'm going to meet you one time for this thing to figure out this shit. And you give them a fucking packing list for that 30-mile ruck that's 2 weeks later. Ugh. Sorry. Don't do it. And then the vice versa is, don't go into this thing thinking you're going to like arm a fucking armada of people. Like, just go in and be like, hey, I'm just here to see what you guys have to offer. Discretion. Let's see if we can boil it down to words. So, I can't really think of one for the first one. Do the late work, small stuff. Network, I guess. Network. Context. Discretion. Output. Output is after they finally come in, you guys do all this stuff. How do you do this? How do you network out? You know. So the next video that I do about this topic is going to be for people who are like me, who can literally go out and do the legwork by having a representative. I highly recommend, if your group exists, you get a representative, someone who can really showcase the best side of your organization, your community, whatever you guys want to call it. So I might triple stack because I got all these ideas in my head and I'm fucking bored and lazy, and I work a job too. So sometimes I don't always have time off. Thank you all. Stay safe.